ఇవాల్టి కార్యక్రమాన్ని మొదలు పెట్టబోతున్నాం. Since it is auspicious for all of us, let us wish each other a happy Ugadi and begin this evening's proceedings. For many of us participating here, it is morning, so let us welcome the day and the evening with all our hearts. And with no further delay, I'd like to welcome Samira Sripada Garu, who's going to render a prayer for all of us before we start this auspicious evening. Over to Samira.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. నా పేరు సమీర శ్రీపాద. నేను ఈరోజు పాడబోయే పాట ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని ఆనంద భైరవి రాగం. ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని ఆనందకారిణి శుభదాయని ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని ఆనందకారిణి శుభదాయని ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని భవాని వాణి శ్రీ మహాలక్ష్మి అనంత రూపిణి ఆనందకారిణి భవాని వాణి శ్రీ మహాలక్ష్మి అనంత రూపిణి ఆనందకారిణి శంకరి శాంభవి కరుణా సాగరి శంకరి శాంభవి కరుణా సాగరి అఖిలాండేశ్వరి శ్రీ పరమేశ్వరి శంకరి శాంభవి కరుణా సాగరి అఖిలాండేశ్వరి శ్రీ పరమేశ్వరి రామ పని సాని పమ గమగ ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని ఆనందకారిణి శుభదాయని ఓంకార రూపిణి కాత్యాయని.
Thank you very much, Samira Sripada Garu. Samira Sripada has been teaching Carnatic music to children and adults in the USA for the past 10 years. And she's founded Sripada Sangeeta Alayam, a school of Carnatic music in Texas. And we are really delighted to have this beginning with her auspicious singing. We are actually very, very honored to have the presence of our chief guest, Ms. Smriti Irani ji, who is very well known worldwide, and she's emerged as one of the most powerful women in the country in the last more than a decade. In her 25 years of journey, I'm sure she has seen wonderful experiences, and she is going to share with us her journey in a little while. Welcome, Smriti Irani ji. And I also would like to extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, panelists, who are all very accomplished in their own right in various journeys of life. And before we introduce all of them, I would like to welcome Shri Jayant Challa Garu, who is the president of the American Telugu Association. Prior to becoming the president of ATA, he was on the board and as a trustee and the business committee chair and advisor. He was co-founder and CEO of ACE Info Solutions, a government contracting IT company with almost 1,000 people in his team. He currently advises and mentors small businesses. He is actively involved in multiple non-profit organizations. As part of a non-profit organization he co-founded, he provides free training to rural Americans. Over to Jayant Challa Garu to give the welcome address for today.
Thank you, Andy. Andarki namaskaralu. I have a warm thank you, Swapna Garu, for the kind introduction. Andarki happy Ugadi celebrations and wish you all happy International Women's Month. Especially thank you to the chief guest and all the guests that have come here. First, I would like to thank all organizers, speakers, and panelists for putting together this virtual event in a short time. Just 2 minutes, I want to introduce ATA. The American Telugu Association, founded in 1990, is the second oldest national Telugu organization in the US. It has been serving the Telugu community in the United States for the past 35 years. The main purpose of the organization is to assist and promote literary, cultural, educational, socio-economic, health, and community activities of the people of Telugu origin and exchange of students and scientists between the United States, India, and Canada. The Telugu community is the fastest growing community in the United States. Right now, the Telugu population in the US is estimated to be at 1.5 million people. Close to 25% of the Indian Americans in the US are of Telugu origin. Telugu folks represent a cross-section of the community, entrepreneurs, business folks, technical experts, doctors, etc. The people are running, Telugu folks are running companies such as Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, just to mention a few. Every year, about 60,000 students and 10,000 high-skilled immigrants of Telugu origin are coming into this country.
Thank you, Jain Chalaji. This event is definitely a testimonial to your commitment to women empowerment and bringing inclusive conferences and seminars like this. And with no further delay, we're all waiting to meet in person Smriti Irani ji, Cabinet Minister for the Government of India, a young global leader, and she has made a true impact in her various roles as a Minister for Women and Child Development, as Minority Affairs Minister, Textiles Minister, Education Minister, and various other roles. Smriti Irani ji continues to inspire us as a distinguished leader with over 25 years of experience in governance and policy making. She has held pivotal cabinet positions, leading transformative initiatives across the ministry that she has pioneered and she has led. And she has also been instrumental in digital transformation, and her presence today gives us a great hope that women empowerment in its true essence is actually not far away, but it's part of our lives today, and we can actually move towards better steps and అందరికీ అనుకూలంగా ఉండే విధంగా సాధికారత అనే అంశానికి నిలువ అర్థం స్మృతి ఇరానీ గారు. వారికి సాదర స్వాగతం పలుకుతున్నాం. I request our chief guest Smriti Irani ji to please address us and share her experience throughout this 25-year journey. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. At the onset, let me give my gratitude to the American Telugu Association for being kind enough to invite me on this day where you celebrate the new year. Ugadi greetings to the 1.5 million Telugu people in the United States of America and those across the world. I'm particularly delighted that I'm called to speak on the Women's Day issue on a day that brings forth new promise, new hope, with old belief systems that have culturally helped us being valued across the globe and which help us build a better and more inclusive future. I normally am not very well positioned to speak about my journey in solitude, and I'm very habituated to a conversation. But instead of just talking about me, let's contextualize what Women's Day is actually all about. In our country, and possibly we are the only nation on the face of this planet, where our war for independence against colonial forces were fought by both men and women. We are possibly the only nation where we saw a mother, a young widow, tie her child to the back, strapped across her body, rode a horse, raised her sword against the British Army, with an army of Indian men following her. That is Lakshmi Bai, which was featured in your opening title montage. We are the only nation on the planet which civilizationally has the concept of Ardhanarishwar, where Shiv and Shakti come together, and their blessed union is what culturally is the fulcrum of our thought process and our beliefs. We are the only country which can proudly say that while man went to the moon, the Mars vision was heralded by women of India. We today proudly say that I can't speak for other democracies across the world. The Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces in India is a lady, President Draupadi Murmu. That today we have 1.5 million Indian women who serve in panchayats elected through local elections in governance bodies, that we have the highest number of women now serving in Indian Parliament. We are one of the very few democracies and the largest democracy in the world that has passed 33% reservation for women in Parliament, and that too when the new Parliament building was being inaugurated. What better an inauguration than inviting the force of Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Durga to Parliament, that being the 33% reservation bill that was passed. India has also evidenced what it means to invest in women. If you all remember, in the year 2014, Prime Minister Modi wanted to ensure that no Indian is unbanked, that every Indian has an association and an engagement with financial institutions across the country.
We'd like to thank you for that wonderful, inspiring, the words of wisdom that you've given us today. And I'm sure, looking at you as a firebrand woman who has inspired us all through the last couple of decades, ma'am, we hope that we see many more leaders like you in the Parliament, in members as members of legislative assemblies, and in various other capacities. We thank you so much for your presence, ma'am. I
Thank you.
request Jayant Chalaji to please give his thanks to our chief guest, Priti ma'am, today.
And thank you, our heartfelt thank you to Smriti Irani ji. I know this was a last minute thing and you have to reschedule certain things to address this dynamic Telugu American and Indian American community here and in India. We wholeheartedly, again, thank you for taking time, and we look forward to, sometime meeting you in New Delhi or when you visit the US.
Well,
we
I
would love to
am
welcome
in
you.
the US. I'm going to speak at Harvard, Berkeley, Stanford, Kellogg, and the Arizona State University between the 10th and the 20th of April. So if you're anywhere near the vicinity, I'm happy to meet.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to this virtual Women's Day celebration happening, which is being organized by the American Telugu Association. As the commencement of our first panel discussion about women in public service, I'd like to introduce the moderator, a distinguished, empowered woman herself, who sets an example of how women can break free and cross boundaries and achieve so much during their journey. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Srilekha Palle as a healthcare executive driving performance and innovation across major healthcare systems in DC, Maryland, Virginia. A prominent Asian American leader in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Dr. Palle is actively engaged in cultural, religious, business, and political initiatives across the region. She currently serves as chair of the Virginia Asian Advisory Board, appointed by Governor Glenn Youngkin, and continues to head and lead efforts that strengthen community engagement and representation. I now hand over to Dr. Srilekha Palle to introduce our distinguished panel members today and commence the discussion.
Thank you so much, Swapna Garu. Namaste to everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our Maryland Lieutenant Governor Aruna K. Miller. Aruna mana Telugu bidda, so it's a proud moment for all of us that she's here and she would like to provide, she was invited to provide us some remarks. Aruna K. Miller is the 10th Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland. She was born in Andhra Pradesh, India, and she immigrated with her parents to the United States at the age of 7. Throughout her career, which I've followed for 2 decades right now, Ms. Miller has devoted herself to public service and to removing systematic barriers so we can create opportunities for all. As Lieutenant Governor, currently she focuses on key policy areas, including transportation, mental health, and STEM equity. Aruna Miller Garu, we are so thankful you took the time to join us on this Women's Day celebrations, and I will open up to you for your welcome remarks.
Srilekha Garu, thank you so much, Andy, for that wonderful, warm introduction. And to everyone, namaskaram, happy Ugadi, and those who are also celebrating happy Eid. May this season bring you and your families new beginnings, joy, and peace. And I also want to say thank you to everyone that made this event possible. Making events look easy takes a whole lot of hard work. So thank you to everyone. And I especially want to say that it's an honor to be here at the American Telugu Association and to join so many distinguished speakers, change makers, and barrier breakers. Thank you for your extraordinary leadership. And Rani G. Garu, as you mentioned, India is the largest democracy in the world, and US is the oldest democracy. So it's a great union and a friendship between India and USA. But certainly we have much to learn from India and when it comes to women's empowerment. So I want to give a big heartfelt congratulations to Charuni Pattabandi Sanchez on becoming the first Indian American Secretary of State in Delaware's history.
Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, you gave me goosebumps at certain point. Again, I have to repeat and say you are our Telugu Bidda. I have seen you in power and not in power for certain days, but you always have been super open, super inclusive, always coming on when possible and giving your remarks and inspiring other women. We thank you for your service, and I'm glad you said service is always going to be the motto, because we are moving next to our wonderful panel where we will be talking about women in leadership and public service. Again, thank you, Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller Garu. Hope to see you shortly some other time. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Everyone, it's truly a pleasure to welcome all of you to the next powerful conversation that is focused on leadership, service, and transformational impact. We are joined by three trailblazing women whose work spans governance, healthcare, and advocacy, and who also embody the power of purposeful leadership. These female remarkable leaders exemplify courage, innovation, and service in their respective field. Each of them have shaped policy, inspired communities, and led with clarity in terms of both opportunities and challenges. Let me introduce our distinguished panelists. First, I want to bring on Secretary Kelly G. I have the pleasure of working with Secretary G. I've seen her great work. She is our Secretary of the Commonwealth of Virginia, whose career spans legislative leadership, public policy, and executive governance. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Apurva Ramaswamy. She's a physician, surgeon, researcher, and also an advocate who champions patient-centered care and brings a deeply human approach to medicine and public advocacy. Last but not the least, Secretary Sharini Patibanda Sanchez. She is the Secretary of State for Elevate that Aruna Miller was talking about, a leader whose work in law, land use, and state governance has broken new ground in inclusion and administrative reform. Before we dive into the discussion, I would like to invite all three panelists to briefly share their opening remarks. I will start with Secretary Kelly G. We'll move on to Dr. Ramaswamy and then Secretary Sharini Patibanda Sanchez. Secretary G.
And to be a part of this esteemed group of women. Events like today showcase that empowered women can and should empower other women. It falls on all of us to lift up the next generation of females leaders. March, generally celebrated as Women's History Month in the Commonwealth, is about celebrating women, honoring your achievements, and recognizing the resilience and strength it takes to make the impact that all of you do on your families and communities and workplaces every day. I have been a female in a leadership role for about a decade now, and what I have learned is that women are naturally good leaders. We show up to work with empathy, we show up authentically as ourselves, and with a level of self-awareness that makes us good managers and good executives. And when I was a young executive, I naively thought that because I sat at the head of the table, I had to know the most. And that very quickly paralyzed me and humbled me. And I've learned over the years that my success is measured by the success of those around me. So surround yourself with people that make you smarter, and challenge you and share a commitment to excellence. And today is a perfect example of that. Thank you for having me.
Hi. Hello. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be here with this whole panel. It's been so exciting, this whole journey for us, our family. So a little bit about myself. I am a physician, surgeon. I'm a throat surgeon at Ohio State. I treat patients who have swallowing disorders. It's an extremely underserved problem. I'm one of very few people in the world, in fact, who do this because of historically, we just have not paid attention to quality of life and these issues in patients. And this has been something that's been a huge loss for so many of us who, if you think about what we do when we're in the holidays, when we spend time with our families, it's usually to sit down to a delicious meal and talk to our families. And those are the problems that I have the honor of treating for my patients who've often gone through cancer and all kinds of other health problems, and now are unable to eat, unable to communicate with their families. And at The Ohio State, I am able to treat our patients and often get them eating, get them communicating again. When I was a child, I'm also an immigrant. My family moved from Kanpur, India when I was 4. And we came to this country. My father's also a surgeon. We came to this country with the philosophy of you keep your head down, you work hard, and with those kind of immigrant mentality, you can get ahead in this country and make a difference. And that's really been the case. This country, the United States of America, has given us so much in terms of being able to accomplish, not just as immigrants, but for me as a woman, being able to accomplish so much in just a few years. That said, I think the mentality of keeping your head down and doing what you need to do has kind of blinded us over the years from the things that we need to do. Sometimes we need to look up and see what's going on around us and make a change. And I'm so honored. My husband, Vivek Ramaswamy, has really opened my eyes to that need in so many ways over the course of our time together. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And what I've learned from him and from the journey that we've had as a family is that you really need to be able to look around and then make those changes, because those changes will affect you, your family, the people you love, the people you care about. So if you're not able to make those changes as immigrants, as people who come from different backgrounds, that's our responsibility as Americans, just as much as anyone else. And so I'm so proud of the people who are on this panel with me who have done that in so many different ways. And I'm so excited to be able to speak to everyone.
Swami, coming from a rehab medicine background, I really know what you do. I think I know, and I know how much patients appreciate your services. Let's move on to Secretary Panda Sanchez, another pioneer right now, another trailblazer for us. Secretary, your opening remarks, please.
Thank you so much. Namaskaram, everyone. Happy Ugadi, Eid Mubarak. I was so honored to be invited to speak today and to be referenced by Lieutenant Governor Miller. Like Lieutenant Governor Miller, I'm also Telugu. I was born here in the United States, but my parents are from Hyderabad, and I'm the proud granddaughter of 2 grandfathers who really, I think, are the inspiration for my public service. Dr. A.S. Rao, who founded the ECIL company in Hyderabad, is my maternal grandfather, and Dr. Madhava Patibanda, who is a Telugu scholar, is the father of my father, and actually wrote a book named Charani, and I was named after that book, never having received the opportunity to meet him as he passed away before I was born. So I do think a lot about my grandparents and their struggles in India, and use that as my inspiration for service. I'm an attorney. I was born and raised in the great state of Delaware. My parents immigrated to Delaware from India by way of Indiana, actually. And then I went to Los Angeles and practiced law. I was a land use and administrative law and government affairs attorney before returning home to Newcastle County, where I was born and raised, to serve as the economic development director. And in that role, which was actually, I came back to Delaware during COVID, we were really struggling to help our working families that were shut out of jobs. We were trying to help mothers who were scared to seek healthcare for their children because of the risk of COVID and other diseases. And I had an opportunity to work on a nurse family visiting expansion in Newcastle County, where we used federal dollars that came from the Biden administration to expand the opportunity for mothers to receive nurse home visiting. These are essentially Medicare mothers or Medicaid mothers who are living in poverty, and they would have access to a free nurse who would come to their home and do checks on their children, as well as themselves, to make sure that they were doing well. And these are evidence-based, outcomes-based programs that we were trying to expand in Newcastle County, because as the economic development director, we know that women contributing to our economy is really the backbone, and we must empower women to be able to care for their families and work when necessary. I then had the honor of being appointed by Governor Matt Meyer to be Delaware's 81st Secretary of State. And today, on International Women's Day, I'm one of 3 women who ever served in that role, and I'm the first Indian American to ever be a Secretary of State in Delaware. So I'm incredibly proud to serve in this capacity and represent my community as an appointed official in the state of Delaware. We have been working hard to, combat some of the challenges that we're facing right now, but all with the eye of service and bringing resources and aid and help to our most deserving and underserved population in our state. So thank you so much for having me.
I mean, I think everything you said resonated, especially the service is really resonating to me here. So let's go ahead and begin by exploring the early sparks that led each of you to where you are today. I am sure there were tons of paths that you had to take to get where you are at this point. Let me start with Secretary G. Secretary G, I've seen you over the past few years. You've served across multiple branches of Virginia's public sector. You went to the legislative halls. You were at an executive leadership helm. What catalyzed your interest in public service, and how has those diverse experiences shaped your approach to leadership?
Thank you for the thoughtful question. I know exactly where I was when I got this inclination that I wanted to do public service, and I've just crossed the 15-year mark of serving as a state employee in some capacity or another. I was in it was my intro to government class when I was in my first year of college, and the very first day of class, the professor named Dr. Love, you'll never forget a name like that, walked us through how every aspect of your life is controlled by the government. I mean, the food you eat, the roads that you drive on, what you're taught in schools, zoning and building codes, literally every aspect of your life. And I felt really compelled in that moment that I wanted to be part of the conversation, not just oblivious to kind of how government was going to impact my life every day. So that's what got me into government. And since I have stayed, I truly have found my why. And I think one of the earlier speakers mentioned this: when it's not what we do, it's not how we do it, it's why we do what we do that help us thrive and succeed. And I feel like serving as a public servant and in state government, I'm in a position to bring government to the people and to allow individual citizens to be change agents to better their communities, to drive societal outcomes through policy and rulemaking. And so I truly feel like I'm trying to make government for and of the people.
Thank you, Secretary G. I think you very well said, if you are not going to be one of those influential or decision maker, you have to be on the menu, just kind of watching what's going on and how your water is getting polluted, but what are you going to do about it, right? So it's great that you're in your position.